Chris, say hi. Tell me what your favorite band is.
Hi, Justin Bieber all the way.
Hello and welcome to Breathing Underwater's Musicast, episode 3. This is, I'm going to start that over because that was crap. Alright, here we go. Hello and welcome to Breathing Underwater's episode, God, every time, this is why I couldn't act. Alright, well, last time, here we go. Hello and welcome to Breathing, yes, Dave? Okay, I'm going to start over now. Hello and welcome to Breathing Underwater's Musicast. This is episode 3, Insanecore. I am Dan, and this is my twin brother,
Dave.
Also join us is Chris again.
Hi.
And also, we have a new guest this week. This is Jay. Say hi, Jay.
Hi, Jay.
So Jay and Dave and Chris and I guess we go way back. We knew Jay way back in middle school, right?
Oh yeah,
we
great.
Yeah. Well, you met Dave first, right? And then we met each other.
Yeah, last 7th grade.
And I remember Jay used to have that flop for a long time, the flop haircut. Remember that?
Yeah, that was all the rage.
And I thought he was cool because he saw Smashing Pumpkins.
1996, garbage opened for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was when they were cool.
They're still cool.
Okay.
So yeah, and Jay, Dave, and I, we kind of got into music around the same time, or we were getting into the similar music around the same time. I remember we all kind of discovered the Deftones together, and like Limp Bizkit together and stuff like that. Jay, you and me, we used to sit in Spanish class with our like headphone in one ear, like our heads were down at the desk, and we had a headphone in one ear, and we were listening to like Deftones and Tool and stuff.
Well, that was because our Spanish teacher didn't really know Spanish, and she wasn't teaching us much, so we decided instead to try and listen to some good music.
I think it was a better choice.
Oh, most definitely. She ended up leaving, I think, halfway through the year.
At least we weren't the ones that made her cry, though. Those were the other kids in the class, not us.
Like I made my French teacher cry. Not my class, not me.
I think a lot of teachers. I haven't cried yet, but I might. Probably.
No, that teacher just took everything too personally, and I think actually when we were listening to the music was once she had already left. That was the substitute teacher who was the French lady. Yeah,
exactly. Oh, right. That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, you and I didn't have anything to do with the Spanish teacher going insane.
Not the woman with the yellow teeth. Her name was with Cornrich, I think.
Yeah, but it was wild. It was K-O-R and like Korn, like the band.
I know, right? And we would listen to Korn when we were having class from Miss Cornrich. That's just funny. All right.
And I think the other lady was Miss Moberg, but she was French, and she was the one that like got up on the table and stomped. And
yeah,
then,
I remember that.
The bulb in the projector. Yeah.
I haven't done any of that stuff yet. I've yelled at my kids a few times unfairly, but I haven't stomped on the desk. So I'll try to learn my lesson there.
I never viewed teachers as people until probably after I was out of high school.
That explains a lot about my life and why I don't cry on the outside after I come home from work, but you know.
Yeah, they just don't realize that you're a person there doing a job and getting paid, and I understand why teachers are frustrated now as somebody that has a job. But I work with a lot of teachers these days. I see the world more and more.
Well, since we're talking about my life here, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about what this episode is going to be about. We're going to talk about, because we've brought it up a couple times in the show already, about this so-called like Insanecore. Dave called it diarrhea core. It's just our reaction to the current trend in metal right now, where there's a lot of bands doing a similar kind of thing, which is very erratic metal that's kind of a combination of a lot of different things. It doesn't seem to really have any focus or vision, and we're just kind of want to get that out of our system. And then we're going to talk about a show that Jay and I went to, and we're going to review the new Blink-182 album. So, but before we get into all that, I like to give the new people on the show a chance to define themselves musically a little bit. So, Jay, what are your top albums of all time?
Oh my goodness, man! I don't even know about top albums. I listen to. I'm all over the place. Like I love Darkest Hour. I pretty much love all their stuff. And then I listen to a lot of indie, like girl type music, like Kate Nash, Miko, and then I also listen to like mainstream shit, like our stuff. And you censor that, but I even enjoy Lily Allen. I love the Deftones still.
Glad to hear that. You know, I almost saw them in Oahu, right?
No, I saw them this past year.
Oh.
It got delayed. They were supposed to play, and then it ended up getting delayed like a couple of weeks. I ended up still getting to see them. Like, the tickets were still valid, but they like just didn't. They had one opening band, so they played for a good while. It was pretty good.
Jealous, because I was gonna go see them that same tour. This was back in like February, I think. But
yeah, that's probably about right. I have a terrible concept of time.
But yeah, I was supposed to go see him on Oahu, and then the whole kind of travel and lodging situation fell through, and then it just didn't work out, and I was really disappointed. But oh well. Chris, what are your top albums?
Well, actually, my favorite band actually is not in my top 5 albums.
I thought about that later when I said the album thing. I probably should have done top bands, but maybe we'll do that as a whole nother episode sometime. Whatever you want to do, top bands, top albums, I don't care. Go ahead.
Top albums probably are Deftones' White Pony, REM's Automatic for the People, Sepultura's Roots, David Bowie's Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, and X's Los Angeles.
Wow, very eclectic. Well, let's get to the topic at hand. We're going to try to keep this episode relatively brief. I don't want to sound like we're just bitching about the current state of music. I don't want to sound like the old guys that can't get past, like Randy Rhoads' death or something like that. But this is just something I needed to get out of my system, this whole Insanecore thing, just because being a teacher, a middle school and previously high school teacher, I think I was first introduced to this kind of stuff. I had she wasn't even a student, she was just like visiting the school, and she had a notebook that had a bunch of kids with I don't know how to call it, like the emo haircut with, it's like real long in the front, like bob in the back. They look like anime characters, you know what I'm saying? And like they were wearing makeup and they had like piercings.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. And I was just like, oh, who is that? And she was like, oh, it's this band called Bring Me the Horizon. And I was like, isn't that a line from Pirates of the Caribbean? But anyway, and that is where they got their name from, obviously. But I had never heard about that band before, or any of that kind of stuff. I guess just because I hadn't been keeping up on the current state of music for a while. And so I looked them up, and I was like, oh, so this is what the kids are listening to these days. And then I got introduced to some other ones like Devil Wears Prada and Suicide Silence and Amur and August Burns Red, and the list goes on and on. And then last year I started working, or I guess earlier this year I started working at Hot Topic, just briefly, and it was all kind of cemented. Like, people would come in and buy the little rubber bracelets, and they had tons of t-shirts of all these bands, and it was like it was a big deal for the kids. It was like the current state of stuff. And I was thinking about it, and it kind of occurred to me that it was very similar to when we were that age, and the big thing was nu metal, and we were going to Hot Topic and buying like Korn and Static X shirts and Limp Bizkit and stuff. But I guess the reason I just wanted to talk about it with you guys a little bit is because the four of us come from the same kind of stock, I think, of where we started with music, and our tastes have varied and things, since, but we're all still metal fans, and I think we've continued to be current metal fans, but this new stuff is something that I'm just not really understanding, I think, because it's like Dave said, it's almost like diarrhea metal, where it's like these kids get together and they throw together these songs that have elements of like thrash and hardcore and whatever you want to call it, emo or whatever, and and there's like slowcore and grindcore and whatever subgenres, but it's like all mushed into one song, and every song it just sounds the same, and it doesn't seem to have any coherency or any vision or any forward momentum. It's just sort of like super fast thrash part, and then squealy emo part, and then really slow breakdown, and then back to thrash, and then another breakdown, and that's a 7-minute song right there. Dave, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you noticed this stuff going on?
Yeah.
What's your take on all of it?
I don't know about like mainstream. I don't know. I don't go to school with a bunch of metal people anymore. I don't like keep up on these bands like you do. I haven't really researched it. I don't know. As far as I know, metalcore is still big. It's not like one movement, but I don't know. I don't know if like it's what the kids are listening to. How do we study it? I don't know. How do we say like this is the zeitgeist now? this is the flow of things. I don't know.
All right. Well, I guess my question is, do you like it? Do you think it's good, listenable music that's gonna carry on, and like continue to evolve, or do you think it's just kind of flavor of the moment?
Like I said earlier, like in another podcast, this reminds me of like early '80s hardcore punk, which is just like cathartic. I don't even know if they're. That's the thing. Like punk, old school hardcore punk, they're like angry. It's all like straightforward. This stuff is like so all over the place. Like we're this. Like it's not like one catharsis. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just incoherence. I don't know. I like crazy bands, and I don't know. One thing I think about this stuff is like it's not that hard to be crazy, heavy, insane. I mean, down tune your guitars a lot, scream as much as you can, get a lot of martial amps, turn it up, and, puke into your instruments. It's not hard. It's all been done before. Extreme music, death metal. Hey, been done. I don't know. It's never been my thing. Music that's all over the place like that.
Jay, what's your take on everything?
I'm a fan of anyone that has talent and is trying to put their music out there and expressing that talent. I don't feel like most of these bands are doing that. I feel like it's kind of just thrown together. But I mean, I'm glad that the kids are going to that rather than this auto-tuned crap that they play on the radio. So
totally. like a lesser of two evils.
The lesser evil, exactly. Yeah.
I agree. I'm glad they're listening, and that was the whole thing. And some of these kids, like I taught drum lessons to and things, and they were like just starting out, and they could barely play a beat, and they're like, Mister, I want to know how to play, this Devil Wears Prada song. And I'm like, why? Have you can't even play like a Green Day song? Like what the heck? And so that was my whole thing about it, was just that I'm always trying to get into new music. I'm always interested in finding new music that's going to make me feel something that's going to take me on a sonic journey or whatever. But
yeah,
and the kids were, and that's the whole thing, is the kids were touting this stuff to me like it was it was awesome, and I really wanted to like it because it's I don't want to be that person that stops liking music after a certain point and acts like the Beatles were the last big thing or something. But this stuff, it just doesn't take me anywhere. It doesn't. I feel, I should say that I have a screenwriting background. That's where I got my undergrad in, and I'm big on like storytelling. I like stories, and I like music that doesn't have to tell a story lyrically, but I feel like it should have some kind of sonic storytelling that takes you someplace. And I try to listen to these, and I own some of this music. Like I have some Bring Me the Horizon stuff. I have some Amir, and I try to listen to it, but I can only really listen to it when I'm working out, just as like a background angry, something to just kind of pump iron to. Chris, what's your take on everything?
I just found it all kind of hilarious.
Why?
Dave was saying there is a slight comparison to the early hardcore punk, but they like Dave said, they had more of it's the same kind of loud, angry sake, but they had a much more tighter focus on the song instead of bouncing all over the place into different styles. But they do kind of remind me of some of the more kind of like the mainstream boy bands back in the 90s, where
oh my god,
let's see how fast we can slap some makeup and piercings and emo haircuts on these kids and pump
definitely
them out
image driven
as the next thing, as the next huge thing.
Manufactured bands.
That's a good point. It does seem very image driven, but I guess that's true for a lot. I mean, if you guys remember, new metal was big. Like there was a big push to to fit into that kind of thing, or
like when everybody was wearing a Fred Durst hat.
Yeah. It's whatever they think's gonna sell. I like to also mention too, guys, that if you notice, a lot of these bands are really young. They're like teenagers or like early 20s. I say that partially because I've seen some of these bands on tour. Like I've seen them at like the Mayhem Festival, opening up for other people, and they they're really young. And I'm just kind of wondering if it's partially because a lot of these kids aren't necessarily professional musicians yet. They know how to play their instruments and they know how to play together, but they don't really know what it's like to actually create some kind of artistry as a band. They're just kind of doing what they think is I don't know, kind of like, who was it said it, Dave? You said that they just throw in a bunch of things together, just to be loud and angry. Kind of, I guess, similar to punk rock. When people could barely play their instruments, but they just wanted to make some rebellious music, so they would just do that, and they didn't really care what came out. Like the Germs, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, Black Eyed Peas.
All right, so another quick point I'd like to make, though, is that there are bands that do this kind of thing, but they do it well, and they've been around for a little bit longer than this current trend. Bands like, some better than others, I think, but the Red Chord, Black Dahlia Murder, Dillinger Escape Plan, obviously, Norma Jean.
Oh yeah.
Between the Buried and Me is a big one. I Wrestled a Bear once. Bands like that, like, they have that kind of erratic, multi-faceted, multi-influenced metal. Even like maybe Candiria, you could throw in there, or maybe even like Meshuggah, like math metal.
Yeah.
I think those were kind of the forerunners of this movement. Do you guys agree or disagree? Jay, what do you think?
I have a couple of things to say. I really hate labeling things and like trying to like put things in different categories, but like it makes sense to me. I understand where it's going. I think that the bands that you listed off are very talented, and I would not label these new groups in that. I think these are young kids coming up, and I think they have the potential to become that. I don't think they're there yet. So no, I would disagree that like Chimera and any of these like other bands have anything in common.
Well, I was just saying that maybe they were kind of started the movement, and then these other bands are just kind of copycatting but not doing it well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could see where that's probably what they grew up listening to, and that's what they want to emulate to create their own sound.
Chris, what do you think?
Like, just going on to the fact of how young they are, they're essentially fanboys.
Yeah.
They're kids. They're literal kids who are taking all of the metal bands that they listen to as, growing up and just throwing them together into a big pile. I think they're wearing their influences very loudly on their sleeves. And like we said, some of them might actually turn into a good band years down the line. Some of them might just end up being flash in the pans.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. Maybe possibly the artists will they'll grow up, they'll be able to play instruments better, and they'll learn what that songwriting thing that some artists seem to be lost in certain sorry, that's my word. Maybe some of these artists will break up and come together, change. I don't know. It's definitely not something that's would stay around. Something that just lacks coherence and good songwriting, no matter what genre it is. Not something that'll just stick. I agree. I think that's what Chris and I were saying. Have you ever been to a music store? I think it was FYE. It's one of them where they categorized everything down by genre. And you would go to the metal section looking for a metal band, and then you're like, oh, they're not here. Where do I look for this band? Where would they fall under? And then you can't find them, and you have to ask an employee, and then you have to look it up on the computer.
Where was that?
I think it was FYE.
Oh.
The one that's in the mall before. I think they've pretty much taken over the mall music stores.
Yeah.
They are like that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I think it was the Deftones. The Deftones were in metal or something. It was crazy. Whatever band I was looking for wasn't where they should have been. They weren't in the hard rock or whatever section. I was like, I don't know.
So wait, FYE actually had a metal section?
You remember that?
I didn't. I think I've been to an FYE once.
Was it them, or what's the one that's owned by Suncoast?
It is a FYE, and Tower Records used to be like that too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
When they had the physical stores.
We had a Tower in Philly, and it was I loved that store. I was really sad when it closed down. I remember I walked into an FYE once and turned right around and walked out when I saw the CDs were $18 or $21, and I was like, are you kidding me?
I have a funny story about FYE. I went in, and I think it was something about Three Wooden Crosses was the name of that CD, and then I bought Lamb of God's CD before they were Lamb of God, and it was Burn the Priest, And as I was buying these 2 CDs, the checkout girl was like, "So, you have pretty eclectic taste in music, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, I like all kinds of stuff." Because I was buying a Christian music country CD and then somewhat satanic rock album at the same time.
I thought you were gonna climax that story by telling us how you guys like went out later and did things we can't talk about on.
Yeah, she's a very nice girl. No, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to build up to anything.
Oh.
I got a similar story. Once when I was a teenager and I was just first got into hip hop and I was experimenting with like R&B and stuff. I was wondering if I liked any of it, and I bought an Earth Crisis CD. They're an old school hardcore band for those who don't know hardcore. And with Casey and JoJo.
I remember when you did that.
Yeah, and people were like, "Wow, that's an interesting pair." Like, yeah, I like different stuff.
Well, that's just proof that we're true music lovers, guys. So, what do you guys think that this current state of Insanecore, as I've officially dubbed it, and I'm going to start getting royalties for that. So, do you think that it's gonna continue on, or do you think that it's gonna kind of be like new metal and go the way of the buffalo? Dave, what do you think?
That it lacks coherent songwriting or structure or expression of any one thing. It's not. It won't catch on and keep going.
Let's do something that's completely opposite of what we were talking about, or at least genre-wise. The antithesis of Insanecore is Blink-182's new album, Neighborhoods. Have you guys all listened to it?
Yep.
I'm gonna go last on this one. I'm gonna say, Chris, you said you weren't a big Blink fan, but so give me your take. What do you think about Neighborhoods?
I'm a bit out of the loop because probably the only full album of theirs I heard before this was Dude Ranch way back in the late 90s.
Wow, so you don't have much to compare it to.
Right. Besides that, I've heard, I guess, their singles on the radio, and I never heard any of their individual solo projects. And as for this new album, Neighborhoods, I was just kind of neutral on it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It is better than some of Good Charlotte's subsequent albums, and I always kind of tied the two of them together.
Yeah, I guess.
Sound-wise.
Yeah. But you are a Good Charlotte fan, though, right?
I like some of their like first 3 CDs. After that, it just kind of went downhill for me.
Yeah. Dave, what'd you think of Neighborhoods?
I liked it. I do. I mean, it was hard for me. It was hard for them to top their last one, self-titled one. To me, that was just a phenomenal album. But it was good seeing them come back after all these years and make a solid album. It was solid. It had a bit more energy in some parts than their last album, but I don't know. I have to listen to it a few more times, but I approve of it.
So thumbs up from Dave. Jay, what'd you think?
I only listened to
Are you a Blink fan?
a couple of songs, but it sounded like their side projects. Like, why do we really need another Blink-182 album when I have all these other side project bands out there? I can't even name them all because there's so many. It just seemed unnecessary to me.
I think I'm going to kind of reflect what you guys all kind of said. I personally was I think we all like hated Blink and the whole, whatever, the emo pop punk thing in high school because we were all big metal fans, and that was just like the antithesis of who we were, right? I remember I was in college and I heard their song "Stay Together for the Kids," and I was getting into the whole, my tastes were varying or evolving, and I was getting into the emo thing a little bit more, and I remember really liking that song, so I checked out that album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and I really got into it, and then I went back and listened to their earlier catalog, and I still am not huge on their older stuff, like Chris, you only heard Dude Ranch, and I most of that to me, it's all kind of I don't know, it has the same vibe, and it was overly obnoxious and supposed to be funny, and sometimes it was very immature, which is fine, but it just wasn't. I wasn't really that into it, but I liked their stuff from Enema of the State on. a lot. I thought they were really good songwriters, and I really like Travis Barker as a percussionist because he's super creative with what he does. I've never heard a drummer quite like him, where he plays really hard and he plays a lot of different styles, and he does a lot of stuff that you just don't hear in any kind of music or rock. And then I agree with Dave that their previous album, I think that it came out all the way back in like 2003, the self-titled one. I thought that was like phenomenal breakthrough for them. It was all serious. It wasn't, there was no more of that like joke stuff, and I just thought it was like really solid and really good, eclectic, range of songs. And they had what's his name, Robert Smith from The Cure on there, and they had Tim Armstrong. I thought it was a really good album. And then when they broke up, I really liked Plus 44. I thought that was a really good album. It was actually one of my favorite albums that I can't stop listening to it ever since it came out. I just think it's just like a really well done album. And I just really didn't like Angels and Airwaves. It's that they're just kind of background noise. The album does sound like a mishmash of their side projects, and that happens with band like Slipknot. That happened too. Like after a couple albums, and then they went off and did side stuff, and Corey Taylor did Stone Sour, and then he kind of brought that back, and then the later couple albums had more Stone Sour-y kind of vibe and stuff. So I wasn't surprised that happened, and I thought it was better than Angels and Airwaves, but I agree that to me it was kind of a little underwhelming just because it was shorter than the other one. It was only 10 songs. The other one was like, I don't know, 12 or 13. I don't know. It just felt like they had a long time to work on it, and it was delayed a lot, and it just didn't feel like they came as far that they did in between their the self-titled one and the one before that. So, but at the same time, I've been wanting to put it on more than I expected I'd want to. Like it wasn't like a one-time listen, so I'm expecting it'll grow on me. I think there's a couple of songs in there that I think really reflect where they were headed with their self-titled album. So I think it was pretty. Could have been worse. And I think it's just interesting when you get this whole like band breaks up for a long amount of time, and then they get back together, and you never really know what you're gonna get. And we'll do an episode about Far down the road, which Jay you'll be on, because we're gonna do a Deftones Far episode. But they were on a similar kind of path, like they broke up, and then 10 years later, after various side projects and lots of different stuff, you had no idea what
they became the mama bird, and they were like, I'm gonna regurgitate what we already did back into your mouth, and you're gonna like it because you're a baby bird.
So yeah, save it for the Far episode. But I just think it's interesting because like you never know, bands and people people evolve and they get older, and you don't know what they're gonna do 10 years or whatever, 8 years, 10 years down the road. So I thought it was interesting that it was still like Blink-182's album was still very similar to the last one, but then also carried much more of their side project stuff. And I guess I was personally just expecting more because they had hyped it up so much, and it was such a big deal that they got back together, and it just felt kind of like another Blink album. It didn't feel like it was a groundbreaking thing like their self-titled one. So so Jay, we do a show review. It's something that we've been to before at this point in our show, and I thought we could quickly talk about. We were talking about bands that were reflective of, but not on the same level as bands like Between the Buried and Me, and like a eclectic prog metal bands. And we saw Between the Buried and Me at the, where was that? Oh, it was the
somewhere in Philly with Jerry.
Yeah, it was in Philly. It was like the last day that I was in Philly. Was Jesse there? I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he was.
I think he was. Yeah, you guys all drove up, and we saw Between the Buried and Me, and then you guys drove me home and helped me move out of my apartment, and that was awesome. Thanks again for that. But so what'd you think about that show? Jay, have you seen them since then?
I don't think so. I've seen them like 2 or 3 times, but I have not seen them since then, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh, you saw them before that, though?
Oh, yeah. I've seen them like 2 or 3 times. I saw them there opening for Bleeding Through, and then I saw them Maybe only 2 times. Yeah, that was probably the second time I saw them.
Do you think it was a good show? Or any time that you've seen them and you think they were good?
Yes, I feel like they put on a good show. They can create the sound that they make on the album in concert.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very important. I'm a fan of Mastodon, although I would never see them in concert because that guy cannot sing.
Yeah.
He's one of those freaking auto-tune babies that, I don't know. They make good music for a record, but when I want to go to a concert, I want to hear something and see something that's good. But yeah, Between the Buried and Me are incredible. Like, the music they get put out and then can recreate that sound in concert. It's amazing to me.
It's pretty incredible. And I brought up that show in particular because I remember watching them and just being, I didn't even want to like mosh or even like headbang or anything. I just was like captivated by their musicianship, and like they were just so professional, and like and it was almost like watching like a jazz group play, because they were so calculated.
Yeah.
And in comparison to like a lot of the Insanecore bands that I've seen open up for other bands or seen them at festivals and things, where they're just like, they look like they're trying to kind of harken more to like Dillinger or something, where they're just like going crazy on stage, but they just sound like crap because, I don't know, it's like almost not even paying attention to what they're doing. It's all about the effect of the insanity of their music, as opposed to like Between the Buried and Me, which have really insane music, but it's very like focused too.
Yeah, they're really good. Also, it's somewhat off topic, but I want to throw out, like, I went to a Dragonforce concert.
Oh,
those cats. Yeah, you guys can make fun of me all you want. I don't care.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay,
I don't know.
Their record, like, I can't play any instrument, so, but to me they're amazing. So they can recreate that in concert too. Granted, yeah, they have the fans blowing their long hair, and it's like a 1980s thing, but they're doing metal, like 80s metal type stuff, and all, like, they do solos for every instrument they have out there. It's a good thing. But yeah, obviously I prefer the Between the Buried and Me sound a little bit more than that, but yeah.
But Dragonforce they're really self-aware. Like, they're doing that on purpose. Like, they're not like, that's why people can appreciate them, because they kind of, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, right? Like, and they're also really talented. So
you think that because they know they're good, that they don't deserve as much credit, or?
No. I'm not making fun of them at all. I don't like them, but I don't have anything against them. I think I saw them at, where was that? Was it Ozfest or a Mayhem Festival? It was some festival. I don't remember what it was, but they were really good. I mean, like, they were really tight. Like, they played super fast, and I was pretty amazed at their ability level. I just didn't like the music very much, but that's why I thought like their kind of whole shtick with like the fans blowing their hair and stuff. I thought that was all kind of a, like a show. Like they're doing it on purpose for a certain effect, but they're not like a joke band or anything. But I don't discredit them for that. I think they're just kind of doing their thing.
No, I agree with everything you said, but my opinion is, at least, hey, they can do what they're putting on that record in concert. Like, this, I don't even know. Yeah, this is off subject, but I went with Terry up to New Jersey, and we saw the Deftones when they're headlining the Taste of Chaos tour.
Oh,
and
cool.
People were yelling at the Deftones they were yelling, "Play it like you do on the album." Because if you've seen the Deftones live, they sound a little bit different. Like, Chino, I think, sings the harmony. They don't sound exactly the same because he's one guy. He can't do both, and she does the yelling or whatever. But they sounded good. But I'm trying to think of a nice name to call the people that live in New Jersey. That is, but those people that live up in New Jersey didn't understand that. Yeah, like, I was like, seriously? Like, this is a great band. They're headlining this tour. They're the reason why I bought the pit tickets to come and see this tour. And you stupid clowns are yelling at them. But
if you don't like what you hear live, then just go listen to the album. Shut up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I mean, I don't know. The Deftones are great. I love seeing them in concert. So much energy. Chino gets down to the pit. He did it this last year when I saw him. Like, great band. I don't know all the new songs like I knew all the old songs. I have their new albums. I just don't listen to them as much because I don't like them as much as I like the old stuff. But I still will go see them if they're here, you know?
To talk about anything upcoming, just to whet people's taste buds for whatever is coming up. And I usually have a list of things, but I haven't had a lot of time this week because my baby came home from the hospital and I haven't really done much of anything other than baby stuff. So guys, what do you know about that's on the horizon of like tours or album releases or DVDs or whatever?
Dude, have you heard the news? Have you seen commercials or anything yet?
No, you're supposed to say, have you heard the word?
Have you heard the word?
The bird is the word.
Have you heard?
Have you heard the word? You guys were supposed to come in.
Alright, what are you going to say, Dave?
Who are the two dumb rockers that we grew up watching? They fried our brains.
Pee Wee Herman and his couch.
They are bringing Beavis and Butthead back to MTV.
It's not going to be as good.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about that.
They're not just rerunning it, they're making new episodes.
Yeah, it's not. Don't get your hopes up.
I'm not. Dave, do you know if Mike Judge is doing it?
I have no clue.
It doesn't matter. It's like having a black president. Yeah, you think it's going to be cool, and then it happens, and you're like, wow, it's another guy that wants money.
Oh, my God.
Like, you can't get your hopes up. Hopefully it'll be good, but in reality, it's probably going to be him. Like, he doesn't have any more money off his space.
Yeah.
How much money could he really have made off of that? He's broke now. It was like Family Guy. That was pretty funny at first, and now it's just like, what are you talking about? Or in The Simpsons. I watched The Simpsons for like the first,
10
right.
years, and then...
Family Guy has run its course, I have to say.
Yeah, The Simpsons. Oh my gosh. I watched an episode of The Simpsons last night just to see, like, why the show is still on the air. And I don't know.
Right?
The show did not answer these questions for me.
Indeed.
It's run its course also. Long time.
I know, Beavis and Butthead, like, it did what it was there to do. It ended. They had a movie. Like, why resurrect it? Why? Who wants that back?
I can answer it on the next episode if you want, like, a cliffhanger. But the cliffhanger is common sense, is because people are out of original ideas. They don't have them anymore. They're like, hey, let's just rehash. It's the mama bird thing. Hey, I'm going to chew this worm up and spit it in your mouth, and it's something new to you because you don't know what this is.
Well, I guess, yeah, if it's been long enough and you have a new generation of people that don't know...
Yeah, I'm going to regurgitate this, and you're going to like it because you don't know any better. And you're like, wow, that's already been chewed up, and your saliva's all over it. That's terrible, but I don't know any better, so it's good to me.
Chris, haven't heard from you in a while. What do you know?
I already have a ticket for the Thursday show in December in DC.
Is that the 27th?
27th.
That's Dave and my birthday.
Yes, it is.
Oh, snap.
I didn't know Thursday was done for.
Wait, who else is playing that show?
Bands I've never heard of, probably.
Dave, what do you know that's on the horizon for good stuff coming up?
Other than Slipknot work on a new one, does anybody know anything about VOD's new album? Is there any release date? Are they ever going to release that thing?
Who, Vision and Disorder?
VOD, yep.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything new lately. Like they put out a couple videos of them in the studio, and that was a long time ago. It was like 6 months ago. So I don't know. My guess is that they probably finished the album and they're mixing it and they're just not making a big deal out of it. So, Jay, what do you got?
I don't know anything. I know that Minus the Bear played on Friday in Raleigh, and I really would have loved to be there, or would have loved to have been there, but I couldn't because of work. Other than that, I'm looking for upcoming shows. I did get to see Ghostland Observatory, which a lot of people hate, I guess, because, I don't know, have you heard of them at all?
I haven't, but when you email me about that other guy, email me about them.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too excited. They're crazy Austin kids that it's two guys, and one guy's electronic, and the other guy does the singing and the guitar. But they're pretty good. I got to see them in Chapel Hill. But yeah, I don't get to see a whole lot of shows. Like one metal place that was here closed down, so there's only one other place left. It's slim pickings without driving an hour and a half, unfortunately.
Well, it's sort of like when we used to live near Baltimore and have to commute to D.C. to go to shows, but now Baltimore has all the good shows.
Hey, I live in Buffalo.
Yeah, Dave lived in Buffalo where there's nothing. There's just nothing.
All the artists go to Toronto, an hour and a half north of me. They don't want to go to Buffalo. They all go to Buffalo.
That's not true. I've seen tours go to Buffalo, especially Darien Lake.
All my tours go to Raleigh or Charlotte. Yeah, are we having a pissing contest? Because I will win.
Other than Chris, I'm probably the closest to like an epicenter of music in Richmond. But I'm so new here, I don't really know. I know one venue that I've been to once, the National. But I don't know the scene at all. So I'm excited about cracking into that because I don't know what's up. Yeah, we'll see you guys again. Thank you for coming on. I just wanted to say one last thing about our topic of Insanecore before we move into the song pick of our episode, that we are not necessarily criticizing this movement of metal. We're actually really glad that kids are making this music and that kids are still into metal in 2011, that metal's still thriving, but we just want to urge these young music makers that there is a point to music and to metal, that you shouldn't just emulate the bands that you like, though that's always a good start, but we also feel that you should try to do something new, and something new doesn't always mean just regurgitating all the different things that you're already aware of. So keep working on it, keep trying, keep respecting the masters, and they'll teach you a thing or two. So rock on, keep it real, blah blah blah. Alright, so moving on to our song pick. This episode, to kind of go along with the Insanecore theme, but change it up a little bit, I am going to present you with a song by a death metal band that was another local band from the Baltimore, D.C. area. They were called Severed Head. Though I was never a huge death metal fan, they were super cool guys, super cool band. They'd play any show, anytime. A gig was a gig to them. They played a lot of parties, but they also played a lot of clubs. And they got a little name for themselves. They got some recognition going on. This is back around the turn of our last century. But they were also real versatile musicians. They were real smart guys, and they kind of put the kibosh on that whole idea that metalheads are just like meatheads, and they only know how to chug out some chords and scream into the mic. But for instance, the guitar player was also a professional trumpet player. He was classically trained. He's a very good musician, and he just happened to also like death metal. And he was one of the people that helped give credit to the idea to my young mind that music is not just music, but it's also an art form. It's a form of expression, and music can cover all those different areas of human experience, whether it be classical music or death metal. So, quick funny story before I jump into the song. Severed Head, like I said, was a kind of band that liked to play any kind of gig, and we had them play my then girlfriend's birthday party. They were gracious enough to let my then band Minion headline for them, and at the party when they were playing we were all crammed into a little basement at my then girlfriend's house. Things got pretty rowdy when they started playing, and something got broken, a plant or something, and dirt got spread over the house, and my girlfriend's dad ran downstairs, saw the broken pot, and started to choke the singer of my band at that point. So that was pretty funny. Anyway, I now present you with Greed System by Severed Head off of their album Desecration of My Own Grave. main website for this podcast is bumusiccast.wordpress.com. Please leave us feedback there in the comments section, or please email us at breathingunderwater1@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at breathingunder, but I'm only really going to post when we have a new episode available. Other than that, there's not going to be much other web presence for now. I'm just trying to keep things simple. So if you need to contact us, WordPress or email is probably the best bet.
All views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the persons expressing them and have no relation to the companies, artists, or bands discussed.
In addition, the participants of this podcast claim no rights or ownership of the musical media, songs, sound clips, etc. presented in this podcast, which are solely for promotional purposes. If there are any issues with any content presented in this podcast, please contact us and we'd be happy to take care of it.
So please do not sue us or be a hater.
Thanks for listening.